Well, welcome to our show and Happy New Year to everybody out there and our live internet audience. This is Vlad, my co-host, Vlad.
Oh.
Vlad, it's 2012. Christmas is over.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Whoa.
We are part of a brand new future. It's the age of Aquarius.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and it's actually the year of community, according to a bunch of white witches that I hang out with regularly. They said that this year, 2012, is the year of community, and so to begin our BYOD season in 2012, we thought it appropriate to start with the big community builder of all in the documentary world, Sundance Film Festival, which is coming up. We'll be there in 2 weeks.
That's right, everyone. We'll be taking the entire month of January to highlight some amazing films that will be at the Sundance Film Festival.
And we have an amazing show today. We're going to be talking to David Courier, who's a senior programmer at the Sundance Film Festival, about some of the documentaries that are going to define this year's Sundance lineup. And Sundance, as you know, is a very important festival to me personally, spiritually, and in every way. I think to most documentary filmmakers out there, it's Mecca. So we will be traveling to Mecca.
That's right.
And following up with the filmmakers that we talk about today and some others that we personally adore. All right, so without further ado, let's have David Courier come on the show. Come on. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy.
It's good to see you.
Great to see you.
Oh boy, there's a big table. Mwah. Great
Glad.
to see you.
Nice to see you, David.
But I'll just shake your hand.
That's right. We can kiss later.
All right.
Let's kiss during the title sequence.
All right. We can all just make out.
Yeah.
So, hey, everybody, we're going to run our title sequence. Happy New Year and welcome to BYOD. Welcome back, everyone.
So David.
Andy, yes.
David, it is 2012, and that marks your 12th year with Sundance?
It's my 12th year in some involvement with the Sundance Film Festival. I started there 12 years ago as a screener for documentaries as I was working full-time for a production company. So there was a little, I basically did them a favor. Cooper was a friend from years before that, and he had a bag of 75 films that no one had seen, and it was getting late in the season, and they were starting to freak out. So he asked if I would watch these. They'd pay me, write coverage on them. It's like the film equivalent of a book report for people that don't know what that is. And you rate them on a 1 to 5 basis, 5 being the best. And that year I gave 1 5 and it happened to be to a documentary called Scout's Honor, which went on to win all these awards at the festival that year. So that was how it all.
And they asked you back.
They asked me back, yes.
Yeah, and how many films do you think are submitted today versus back then?
It has gone up exponentially every single year for those 12 years, and I think probably every year for the almost 30 years that Sundance has been going on. This year, in every single category, we had more. We broke records last year, and this year we broke all those records all over again.
Yeah,
So-
it's something like 1,700.
1,700 just feature-length documentaries. And I mean, there are over 11,000 films submitted to the festival altogether. 1,700 feature-length documentaries, and oh God, I hate to say this, we show 36. We're showing 36. I mean, so the odds are insane. But the reason we get all those is because we have fostered documentary filmmakers for so many years that we've sort of earned the privilege to become the place that filmmakers want to premiere their film.
Well, you know,
Right.
I always talk about it, and I always get the question at any interview where I'm being interviewed. It's always, you know, there's a Sundance question in there for me, because in many ways it was my start. I
Right.
mean, 2004, you know, Morgan Spurlock, and I always talk about being the class of 2004, almost
Right.
like where we started kind of being people that other people looked to for films. We were making films years in advance of that probably, but it's like bursting out of a birthday cake
Right.
to win at Sundance. So I get that question, and for me, it's like, it's an incubator. It's the safest place you can be as a filmmaker. It doesn't, you wouldn't think that you would feel safe at a festival when you're suddenly putting your work out there for hundreds of people to see and to talk about, but it feels absolutely safe, you know, and that's so important.
Filmmakers say that all the time.
Yeah.
Even filmmakers from around the world who have this idea of Sundance, and then they come for the first time, and it's completely different from what they expect on so many levels, but one, in that it's a film festival about filmmakers. You know, people, the press often write about all the, you know, the swag that is happening on
And there
Main
is.
Street, and there
Quite a
is.
bit.
But we are constantly, we had a whole Focus on Film campaign. We're trying to keep it on the filmmakers. We're focusing on, and why Sundance has become the primo place to premiere your documentary is because we've always done that. Put documentaries on a par with narrative features from day one.
It's not even, I
Right.
mean, it is on a par, but not only that, it's the only catalog you'll find. I mean, and we've been on a jury together,
Right.
Karlovy Vary
Right.
in, you know, the Czech Republic, and we've both been on juries all over the place and at festivals, and you never see a catalog where the documentaries are first.
Yeah.
Right.
In Sundance catalog, U.S. documentary competition is the first listed. It's, I mean, you know, it's funny how people say, oh, those feature films, those narrative films, and then, or is it a documentary? It's
Right.
like, you consider
Right.
a documentary to be as much of a film, and we obviously here at BYOD
You know, I know exactly.
feel that, yeah,
BYOD.
there's a craft that is every bit as challenging, if not more so.
You know,
than-
people use all the terms nonfiction, documentary. I start using terms like narrative to describe those other movies.
I say documentaries are narratives, and I say
I
those
know.
other movies are pre-scripted actor films. Join me.
Yeah,
Pre-scripted.
I don't know about that.
They have a script, and well, I love those
I
other
mean, I love
movies.
those people too, but yeah,
I'm trying to make one
that's
of
too
those.
many words.
Okay.
So David, there's 1,700 films submitted. How many people are screening these films, and what's the process like of determining what makes it, what doesn't?
Well, the process is we definitely use screeners. We've never made any bones about that. They are all people who have other jobs in the industry who we really respect their opinion, and we're lucky to have them. And we pay them. Nobody's getting rich screening films for Sundance, but we pay them because we respect their opinion and we want them to take this fully seriously. And so there's probably, I don't know how many there are. It was probably close to 30 screeners.
Okay.
And there are 7 programmers,
Okay.
feature programmers, and there's a whole other set of shorts programmers. So the screeners are the first eyes on those films, unless they are like films. If they're relationships, like if Andy made a new movie, it wouldn't end up going to a screener. We would all just watch it.
Sure.
And I can't tell you how many of those are, because we've been developing relationships like this for
Right.
so many years that there are hundreds of films that are just coming in from people we know. And then we're also watching all the films that the screeners have seen. So the screeners rate them 1 to 5 like I did 12 years ago. And one programmer watches the 1s and 2s.
Okay.
Just to make sure that, yeah, that really is a 1, that it really is a 2. No, oh my God, that was an experimental film. The footage meant to be burned, you know,
Right.
and they missed it. That doesn't ever happen, but just in case, we have it covered. And then The rest of us are watching the 3s, 4s, and 5s. And so it's a lot of movies. Like I personally watched probably about 500 documentaries in the months leading up to the festival. And Sundance is unique. I'm not the documentary programmer of the Sundance Film Festival. Caroline Labresco is not the documentary programmer of the Sundance Film Festival. We all program everything at Sundance. For instance, Tom Powers is the documentary programmer of the Toronto International Film Festival.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart.
We do it differently. It's been a more, so Caroline Labresco, who I just mentioned, she and I are honing the short list of the documentaries. We oversee them, and we're forcing those other programmers who deal with, what was the term you used?
Prescripted actor films.
Prescripted actor
Yes.
films to watch these documentaries, and then we're watching the films with the prescripted actors as well, and we all vote on everything.
Okay.
So we have these spirited debates in the room.
Fun. That's fun.
Well, it's great to know that if you get a low score, that there's a second pair of eyes that look at something,
Absolutely.
so that you're really getting a fair shake when you submit.
And so the total, we're talking about 2% of documentaries submitted are actually screened at the festival.
It's unbelievable.
So by the time you're going to see these films, you realize these have been curated. I mean, this is like, it's like going to a
absolutely.
museum,
Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's curation extraordinary.
And I can
going
speak
on.
as a filmmaker who's been there a few times. You come home and you've got thousands of invitations all over the world. And I remember John Cooper, who is now the director of programming of the Sundance Film Festival, saying to me when I was there with Dig and I had lost my voice that I said, "Thank God it's almost over." And he said, "Oh no, it's not. It's not even close to over. I'll see you in a year and you'll have been around the world a few times
You've
and
only
you'll
just
have
begun."
all these sound bites." And he was so right. So it's a real launching pad as
Right.
well.
I mean, we pride ourselves on that. We pride ourselves on a couple of things. One is being a festival of discovery. I mean, there are great film festivals around the world. Cannes isn't necessarily a festival about discovery. It's where the great auteurs of the world go to launch their next film. Sundance is a festival definitely about discovery and also about continuing relationships. So if you develop and foster the careers of filmmakers, specifically documentary filmmakers, for so many years, we still want to be able to show these people's movies.
Right.
So what do? There's too many riches. So 3 years ago, we started a documentary premiere section, specifically to add more room for the master documentary filmmakers of the world, or also big event films. So a film like perfect example of how this has evolved. Last year, Eugene Jarecki had a film at Sundance, and it played in the documentary premiere section. The reason is that, Eugene won our grand jury prize in 2005, so that's partly the reason. But the other reason is the film was about Ronald Reagan. The film is called Reagan. It's about a big icon.
I've seen it.
Yeah. So this year, Eugene Jarecki's in our competition. But he's back in competition because that's where this film belongs. And his film this year is called The House I Live In.
Okay.
And it's
Well, you're
absolutely
bringing up a
extraordinary.
sore subject because I've been disqualified from competition.
Well,
Or so
disqualified.
that was what I was told.
Well, no one, as you know all too well, Andy, has ever won our grand jury prize twice, other than you. So, I mean,
Well, it looks like I've got
you've
2 weeks
created a
until
bar.
Yeah, is that potentially
Eugene's
gonna
got me
change?
like in the.
Well, then we'll
Dunk
see.
tank.
He might be disqualified
Let's
from
talk
competition
about
also.
let's jump into talking about his film.
Okay,
Because
sure.
we're talking about Eugene Jarecki.
Okay.
My great
I'm gonna go
challenger.
yeah.
Let's do it.
So Eugene has made an incredible film this year, and I think we should say that it's one of a collection of films that you decided to bring onto this show to preview. I asked David and I, we met at an alumni party or something in early December and talked about doing this show, and the main purpose was to highlight the films that are defining a year that David called the year of the epic doc at Sundance. What did you mean by that when you said that to me?
This is like the biggest trend in documentaries that I've seen this year is a re-examination, reinvention of the American dream in the wake of the financial collapse. And that has spawned and there's kind of been a perfect storm of events that have happened that, for one thing, like traditional type of funding for documentaries has evaporated. But new sources of funding, like crowdsourced funding, like Kickstarter, have been amazing.
Absolutely.
So that digital technology, which allows filmmakers to be more accessible, you don't have to go find, the expert in this. You can research all that. You can edit online yourself. You can do it all yourself so much that the result has been, so many more films. So there's a lot of volume, but a lot more personal films, a lot more, diverse films, and a lot of films that I've decided to take huge subjects on and grab them by the horns, and that's what's happened. We've had the definitive film on a given subject. So Eugene's film, The House I Live In, is absolutely the definitive film on the failure of the American war on drugs. It is why I think it's absolutely extraordinary is that this film it hits you in the head on an intellectual level and the heart. I mean, the thesis is absolutely, David Simon, who created The Wire, is a big subject in this. Well, I've seen 2 episodes of The Wire, but I am going to go buy the complete DVD set because this man is absolutely one of the most brilliant minds I've ever experienced.
Go see The Wire.
Comes so clearly in this movie. So that he's providing a lot of the intellectual thesis of the movie. It's also really personal for Eugene. You'll find out why seeing the movie, and it's gut-wrenchingly heartfelt.
You know what struck me in watching some of the film as I had the privilege of doing last night is that it really deals with the American prison system, which is a huge hot spot in my life. My first 2 films were about prison, but it being the biggest and fastest growing industry in America,
Right.
and then America being the #1 country in the world to imprison people, and it being such a business, it's just kind of ironic that he would go from making Reagan last year to this film. I mean, it's obviously got to be there's some higher plan in that, or maybe that was just where he went to next. Well, we're going to talk to him.
Seems like a
Sundance.
natural segue to me.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect segue. I mean, he created the war on drugs, right?
Right, and deregulation helped create the financial collapse that we're in right now. And poverty is the primary reason that so many people are in prison.
Yeah.
So why don't we take a look at a clip of this film?
Okay. The House We Live In.
When Reagan announced that he was planning to rev up the drug war, more than ever, it was political opportunity. Because at the time, drug crime was actually on the decline, not on the rise. Less than 2% of the American population even identifies drugs as the nation's top priority. But then, of course, they got lucky.
Crack cocaine, the super addictive and deadly cocaine concentrate.
Crack hit the streets. And suddenly there was a hysteria about this brand new demon-like form of cocaine.
Today, there's a new epidemic, smokable cocaine, otherwise known as crack. It is an uncontrolled fire.
American people want their government to get tough and to go on the offensive. And that's exactly what we intend, with more ferocity than ever before.
It's inescapable that the image of the crack user at the time was a young black man, whether or not that was correct.
What we saw were images of black urbanites on TV smoking crack cocaine over and over and over. And then these incredible stories were being associated with crack cocaine, and they were taken as fact.
The drug so powerful it will empty the money from your pockets, make you sell the watch off your wrist, the clothes off your back.
Or kill your mother. Yep, that's what we're seeing.
But if you go back to the 1920s and the 30s, this is what people were saying about marijuana.
Calvin takes that frying pan from the stove and kills his mother with it. Not a very nice thing to look at, but this is marijuana.
If you say that now in our society, people will look at you like you're crazy.
Wow. That is quite an archival clip right there.
Yeah.
He took a frying pan, he smoked a joint, and just... So usually Sundance is known for having all sorts of like celebrities and or special notables. I know that Amy's film West of Memphis is going to bring Damien.
Right.
Is going to bring Peter Jackson, I believe.
And
this will bring some
Eddie Vedder.
crack.
Is that not happening
I
anymore?
believe you're looking to me for Sundance
Well,
News.
I-
Okay, yes.
you
yes,
interviewed
you,
her.
David, will have Eddie Vedder at your
I
festival.
hope so. So I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan.
Yeah, I
Actually
think
saw
so.
him
In fact, they're going to
concert
perform.
oh, well.
Yeah, at the Late Night Lounge.
All right. Make that happen,
I'm just
please.
kidding, but no. So there's not going to be any. Is there going to be? Is the creator of The Wire coming along with?
I think so.
Wow.
Most likely.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to show the next clip because of its look at the prison system and what a crucial part it plays in our economy and how these people are just once they're in there, and that's that. It's like a parallel universe that we finance somehow with our taxpayer dollars, where there's no rules.
Oh, so you have another clip?
We do.
Oh, great.
I just love this film, and I can't wait to see it in full.
This chair, in comparison to other types of restraint chairs, is the most humane, and it's not restrictive.
The war on drugs has to be a war at every level. It has to be a war on the streets of the cities. It has to be a war at the state level, and it has to be a war at the federal level. It's just like fighting the war on terrorism.
Before, in the prisons, I guess the only choice was you could get a Torah or a Bible. Things have changed now. Anybody want their free copy of the Quran?
All sorts of people start to get a vested interest, a financial interest, in keeping the system going.
Well, we're in the business of supplying corrections with products. It's a growing market. Prisons, there's a lot of prisoners in the United States.
This company, CCA, we are the leader and the largest in the world as far as private prisons and jails. They're highly rated in the stock market. It hones your ability to do it less expensively because we have to earn a profit.
There's a whole range of corporations now deeply invested in the drug war and mass incarceration.
And all these people are not trying to do anything wrong. They're trying to make society better. But their actions combined together become part of the thrust that makes the bad parts of the drug war more feasible and more practical.
The thing with the war on drugs is, and the question we have to ask is, not why is it a failure, but why, given that it seems to be a failure, why is it persisting? And I'm beginning to think, maybe it's a success. What if it's a success by keeping police forces busy? What if it's a success by keeping private jails thriving? What if it's a success keeping a legal establishment justified in its self-generated activity? Maybe it's a success on different terms than the publicly stated ones.
So, so that was a clip from The House We Live In by Eugene Jarecki, which is premiering at the Sundance Film Festival in competition on January 20th? Looking at
is it
you.
the 20th?
Something like that. 20th, 21st, that weekend.
Yes, I know the
Park City.
schedule of every single movie.
You know, that clip is incredible because I don't think people understand what a big business the prison system is. I mean, having conventions and conferences where essentially it's almost like an entertainment expo.
You know what's funny is it's the first time, it's like when you first see the clip, it's like you think you're looking at a convention about some massage.
Or a video game. You saw the guy
video
shooting
game
a prisoner dead.
Yeah, I can't imagine being at a convention like that.
Incarceration's become a money-making machine. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable, yeah.
You know what is most remarkable about this movie, though, is that it's not just all the horribleness. This film is so full of hope, and it has so much potential to affect change. That's why it's the perfect documentary as far as I'm concerned.
The perfect documentary.
I mean, I think it's an extraordinary film.
Okay, wow.
Because it does it all.
You heard it here first.
Okay, so let's talk about The Queen of Versailles.
Oh, I'm
your
excited.
opening film, and
Yes.
the director is Lauren Greenfield, who I consider a dear friend.
She's pretty awesome.
And she has, you know, I think it's Renoir who says like every filmmaker makes the same film again and again. She has, and that's not exactly true, but she does have a collection of work, a body of work about body image, money,
right.
haves and have-nots, and this
Gender.
seems to be, and gender, you know,
Yeah.
all of that, you know, youth culture and the pressure that we come up under. How does The Queen of Versailles tie into all that?
Queen of Versailles is a film for absolutely everyone because it works on so many levels. I mean, intellectually, as a piece of entertainment, it's like Lauren, who, if you don't know this, is a brilliant photographer besides being a documentary filmmaker, and she set out to make a film about a couple who are building the largest house in America. It's they live in a 50,000 square foot house, and you know they just ran out of room, poor things. And they were building, you know, of course. And so they were building a 90,000 square foot home inspired by Versailles. And the wife is an ex-beauty queen, and the husband is the CEO of a timeshare empire. And in the midst of the building of Versailles, 2008 happened. The financial collapse happened. And so they lost a lot of money. So it's a bit of a, you know, rags to riches to, you know, it's not really to rags
Right,
again.
weren't they almost billionaires?
Yeah, they were definitely billionaires.
Okay.
So they don't use the B anymore.
Okay.
They still very much use the M. But what Lauren did so brilliantly is like her documentary took a completely different turn than she expected. So she kind of struck documentary gold. Mm-hmm. And you know, somebody else might not do that so well, but Lauren. What is remarkable about this film, I think, is that a lesser filmmaker would have the audience leaving this film probably feeling superior to the subjects. Mm. Lauren's after so much more than that. Mm. She taps into the dignity of these people.
That's good because it's easy to just sort of make fun.
So much easier to make fun.
Right.
And that's not what she's after at all. And that's why it has all that entertainment value that you would expect.
That's great.
See the photos.
That's great. The last time I remember a documentary opening Sundance was Riding Giants, which is another amazing film. And Stacey Peralta is back this year with another film.
Yes, he is. Yeah. But to clarify, we don't do an opening night film anymore. So this is not the opening night film. We a couple of years ago started with this day one concept where we used to 3 years ago roll out one film from the U.S. documentary competition and one film from the U.S. dramatic competition, and then last year it became one film from the 4 competitions. So there's a World Cinema Dramatic and a World Cinema Documentary rolling out on the first day as well. But this is the documentary from the U.S. documentary competition that is our day one film.
Okay, let's take a look at Lauren Greenfield talking about The Queen of Versailles. No, we're not going to take a look at Lauren Greenfield. We are not going to take a look. But you should travel to Sundance and see Lauren Greenfield's film, The Queen of Versailles, next Thursday. And we will also have Lauren Greenfield on BYOD and plenty of clips for you coming up very, very soon.
It's definitely one of the films I'm most excited to see.
Yeah, I'm thrilled about it. I love the name, too, by the way.
It's such a great
Fantastic.
name. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so what else should we look forward to, Mr. Courier?
Well, we talked about, this is the year of the big epic film on a given topic. What is wrong with American healthcare is part of what is wrong with, the American dream. Right. And Escape Fire, the fight to rescue American healthcare, is without a doubt the definitive film on. Talk about a subject in the zeitgeist. We got 4 really good documentaries about healthcare in America. 3 of them were kind of on our short list.
Wow.
Seriously. And then this film came along.
You know, I'm glad.
Oh, it came along after and blew those 3 out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we knew we were going to show one of them, and then this one came along, and it did everything. It took what was great about all of those movies and put it all together in one film. And what that is like personal stories and the overall socio-political situation. And it offers, like Eugene's film does about the war on drugs, this offers solutions.
You know, that's great.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that's so important. And you see that in climate change films, you know, and we'll talk about Chasing Ice in a minute, but I made the film Cool It, and that was, I wouldn't take the job on unless we could offer solutions, because it's just, you get out of these documentaries and they're so dark, and you're just, okay, where are we going now? Oh, we're going to this party, you know, and you're like, you've just had the weight of the world on you. You have nothing to hold on to, or nothing to think, okay, well, what can I do? Or what can we do, you know? So I'm glad to see documentaries seem to be taking that turn also.
Thank God, because, you know, I watch so many documentaries, and they're not often about the most happy subjects, as you know. So I always joke, I've got a little dog, a border terrier, and that poor dog, that dog sees a lot of documentaries. That's one smart-ass dog, let me tell you. She though, gets so many walks because, you know, I've got to like shake off that last genocide because they really affect me.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't be doing this if they didn't, I guess, anymore. But
and plus, this topic in particular has been so highly politicized. It's very difficult to separate the fact from the fiction. You never know what's the truth and what isn't the truth. And it's nice that some people went in and are trying to sort of tell an honest story through.
And this story is going on in the highest levels of medicine and U.S. government. It's like, it's everywhere. In big business, the pharmaceutical industry, there's, you know, lobbyists, there's so many people contributing to
money.
Why this has become such a crisis
Profit.
in America.
Profit over patients, right? Yeah. So let's. So are these new filmmakers, or Susan Fromke? I tend to recognize
Susan
her name.
is definitely not a new filmmaker. She was nominated for an Oscar for Lely's Kin. She's won 4 Emmys, I think. Matthew Heineman is a newer filmmaker. He had made one feature before called Our Time. So they came together to make this film. So Susan, you know, she worked with the Maisels, worked on Grey Gardens. I mean, she's been around for a long time.
Okay, great. Let's take a look. Let's meet Susan and Matthew.
I think what both of us are hoping for is that we can bring into the American consciousness a new conversation about healthcare. I'm Susan Fromke.
And I'm Matt Heineman, and we are the directors of Escape Fire, the fight to rescue American healthcare.
And we're in the U.S. documentary competition at Sundance.
It's a film about how our healthcare system is broken, how it doesn't really want to change, and people out there who are trying to change it.
A lot of what is wrong with the American healthcare system that we discovered is that it's a disease care system, it's not a healthcare system. One aspect in changing the whole system, getting it back on course, is to retrain doctors. A lot of people in medical school just do not learn how to promote health. What they learn is disease intervention.
There's sort of 2 main human storylines in our film. One is the story of a primary care doctor who's struggling to make it in a system that's inhibiting her from practicing the medicine she wants to practice. Another one of our main storylines involves the U.S. military. We really are sort of looking at the military as a microcosm for the rest of America in terms of how they have this default reliance on providing medications for their injured soldiers.
We didn't even realize, I think when we started the film, that the military is really the largest healthcare system in America. And it's in a state of crisis. They feel that things have to change. It's just not sustainable. And so they're really being very proactive in looking at ways to get beyond the just ordinary way of approaching a disease, which in many cases is just pharmaceuticals.
It's not what you'd think would be happening. Walking into the Pentagon and having these generals talk about, you know, using acupuncture as opposed to using, you know, a default reliance on pills. I mean, we never ever had heard that.
I mean,
before.
we started hearing terms like battlefield acupuncture. I mean, they could start doing acupuncture on the battlefield. I mean, how amazing is that?
I think one of the most interesting sort of philosophical debates that we've had, and I think hopefully come out of our film, is capitalism can coexist with providing health care? And there's no easy answer. One of our goals with the film is to help bring some clarity to some of the problems with the healthcare system, but also some solutions. What can we do to get out of this mess?
What we really have to do is change the mindset of the way we think, and that we have to understand that we can create a culture of health and wellness. We really can.
Both Susan and I really didn't want to make a film that purely highlighted the problem. We really wanted to provide both a story that would make you angry, but also inspire you and show you sort of a way out.
So that sounds like a really interesting film.
It is.
And it reminds me of another film that you wanted to talk about, How to Survive a Plague.
Yeah.
Mostly because of all the pill bottles on the floor. Reminded me of, yeah.
Yeah, that is, this year was the 30th anniversary, I guess, of AIDS. And there were another topic. There were 3 documentaries about ACT UP, which is the AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power. One of them didn't end up getting to us because they didn't finish it, but we got 2 of them. This one we decided to show because it is just blisteringly powerful. And this is a film talk about a film that it can be served as a primer for activism today, that just teaches you how, when your life's at stake. These were mostly HIV positive men and women in the 80s who, when your life is at risk, you'll do whatever. And they did what it takes to move the process along. So they infiltrated the pharmaceutical industry.
Wow.
And, got drugs fast-tracked with the FDA in record time so that patients were, it's remarkable what happens. And what's really amazing about the film is David France, the filmmaker, he's just uncovered this sort of treasure trove of archival footage and puts you right in the front seat of it all. So you're there for the meetings, you're there for the victories, you're there for the failures, and you feel like you're there. I mean, it's filmed in a way, and there's a great payoff that I'm not going to talk about at the end of this movie that is, if it doesn't leave you in tears, in an empowering way, then you don't have much heart.
Wow.
Because it's pretty great.
You could just cull the people that don't cry right out of Park City.
Heartless.
Just throw them right out.
Go away.
Should we watch, let's look at a little bit of David France talking about his film.
Oh, cool.
It'll be 1 second.
Okay.
You guys, to stay on some kind of time, we'll probably have to cut these short. Do we just tell you when we want to cut? I'll explain. So we are having technical difficulties here in 2012 at the BYOD studios in Beverly Hills, California. But the weather is very nice outside.
It is very nice.
And we should note that I actually went to Mammoth and I went skiing over the vacation.
Nice.
And I mean, filmmaking's about perseverance. I'll tie it in that way. Mammoth Mountain is still open despite no snow.
Wow, no snow. So they made
apparently
a lot
Park
of snow.
City is going to be very warm this year as well.
Yeah.
Did they
Maybe
make
like
snow?
50. They made snow whenever it got cold enough, but while we were there, it wasn't even cold enough for that. So they just did this like magical grooming, where they just kind of took whatever was there and fluffed it up. And by about 3 o'clock, you'd see the trees and the rocks coming through. But
like hair gel.
yeah, we're apparently ready. We're ready to show our clip about something way less jubilant than skiing.
Yeah.
I guess it came as a surprise to me that this had become a kind of ancient history that fascinated people, that the 80s were a time that need explanation now. And maybe that's just the process of anyone growing through the years, that at some point your own story becomes history. My name is David France. I'm the director of How to Survive a Plague, which will be this year at the U.S. documentary competition at Sundance. How to Survive a Plague is a documentary about the efforts of a number of activists and researchers to try to find the drugs that were going to stop HIV from being an almost always fatal disease. It's a verite documentary for the most part, of this really heroic story on everybody's sides, from the patients, people with HIV who are struggling to try to save their own lives, and the scientists and doctors who they encountered at first and did battle with at first, on the assumption that they were uncaring and incapable of the feeling of urgency that was going to be necessary to bring about that change. It wasn't until 1987 that AIDS treatment activism really took hold in the formation of ACT UP in New York. And I was there at the beginning of ACT UP's formation and wrote the first feature story about the organization. It's told mostly through a trove of footage that I was able to amass over the last couple of years, shot in those years between 1985 and 1996 when the drug breakthrough came. And it's hard to remember what it looked like, even for those of us who were there, what it looked like to see sidewalks filled with young people in wheelchairs and leaning on buildings and trying to find the strength to get to the curb to hail a cab. Those images, they're hard to find. They don't exist. And I've spent the last 3 years looking for just the footage of the New York that I remember seeing. And I found a small corner of it that I was able to incorporate into How to Survive a Plague. It was really a quintessential American.
Welcome back.
Yes, so that's also in competition?
It is.
Okay.
It's in U.S. documentary competition.
That looks amazing. Even just the stills look incredible. So what else did
Our
you
World Cinema Documentary Competition is always really remarkable. This year it's extraordinary. And I think we have a film here. We've got clips from 5 Broken Cameras. This is a film that is unbelievably moving, powerful, and it's a piece of art. It's about using art and technology, cameras, literally, as a means of civil disobedience.
Right.
And what happens to these cameras.
Well, what's amazing is, in looking at the trailer for this film, every camera that was there and broken, it's about a Palestinian who uses 5 different cameras that all break. Right. And works with another filmmaker to resurrect that footage into a film, right?
Yes.
And all of those are like old DV and even high-8 technology, I believe, as it pans across the cameras. And I think I owned every single one of those.
What types of those cameras?
I did. Great. I was like, there's the Sony VX3. Yeah. But it's, I love the title.
Yeah.
Let's give it the best title award right here. Well, Queen of Versailles.
That's a good one. But you know what I want to point out, and I don't know if it's going to be in the clip, but when we say break, I mean one of these cameras broke because it stopped a bullet.
Right.
That was heading towards the
saved
the filmmaker's
life.
Yeah.
So this wasn't just.
He didn't just drop these cameras
at a nightclub.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that is one of 2 major metaphors in this film. How the camera's breaking, and one of the filmmakers, Imad Bernat, the Palestinian. His son was his fourth son was born on the day that Jewish settlers came into their village, and so Jibril is the name of that son, and his life and his coming of age during this time is a whole nother potent metaphor in this film. So it's really just gorgeous.
By the way, did you ever see, and this is a little bit off topic, but did you ever see The Boy Mirror?
The Boy Mirror, yes.
10 Years in Afghanistan?
Yes.
That's an incredible film.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Also using a coming of age to tell the story of the rock people.
Right.
The people that live.
That just gets you, absolutely.
And it's such great verite.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So it's really wonderful what video has done to bring us inside these places we never would have been.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Witnesses, really right there, as you said, in the front seat of places that we would never have been able to be 10 years ago even.
And what's particularly lovely about this movie is Imad is a Palestinian. There's 2 directors of this film, Imad and Guy Davidi. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
He's Israeli.
He's Israeli. And they've come together to make this movie, and that's pretty awesome.
Let's show a clip.
ولا مرة فكرت إني أعمل أفلام. لما بديت أصور بديت علشان فكرت يمكن بقدر أغير إشي من الوضع اللي بنعيشه. من وأنا صغير حتى كبرت وأنا بشوف وبحس كيف المناظر الطبيعية بتتدمر وبتتغير. من 5 سنين قريتي بالعين بدأت تناضل ضد الجدار والمستوطنات اللي بسببهم استولوا على الأرض. هذا النضال أثر على حياتي. ابن جبريل ولد أيام كليلة قبل بداية أول مظاهرة في القرية. هو ما عمرش يعرف الحياة بدون جيش وجدار. كل مرة بتنكسر الكاميرا بجيب كاميرا غيرها.
So,
wow,
that's going to be amazing to
It
see. And let's go somewhere else that we've never, ever been. Most of us have never been to the edge of the world, to the greatest glaciers. And my friend, actually, I was so amazed at the same party I ran into you. I ran into Jeff Orlowski, the director of this film, who gave me a screener of it 2 years ago, maybe?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and I gave a bunch of notes. I'm in the special thanks.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
And I was he was just beaming. He was so excited that his film is in competition at Sundance. And we'll be catching up with Jeff at the festival, but go ahead. He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah, I mean,
tell me about.
If you know doubters of climate change, I would say bring them to this film, because first of all, I've seen it on a small screen on TV. If there's any documentary that I can't wait to see on the big screen, it's this one, because it will be stunning on a large screen. But it provides tangible visual evidence of climate change. And the film will show you how he does that. But James BYOD, a National Geographic photographer, put 30 time-lapse cameras across 3 continents.
Oh my God.
Over 7 to 10 years. And the result is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful film. And this is a film made by a filmmaker who actually was embedded with his subject, working for his subject at the time. And it tells quite a remarkable story. So let's take a look at Jeff talking about his own film.
I was working with my editor, Davis, and I got a phone call from this number that I didn't know. And immediately I felt my heart start to race. I felt this adrenaline pumping. And I go into the next room, I pick up the call, and it's on the other line it says, "Hi, this is Chase calling about your credit card." I ended up hanging up the call. A couple hours go by, and I get another phone call from a blocked phone number. The woman on the other line says, "Hi, I'm Shari calling from Sundance." And my heart stopped completely. My name is Jeff Orlowski, and I'm the director of Chasing Ice, which is competing in the U.S. documentary competition Sundance 2012. James BYOD is a National Geographic photographer. He was trying to photograph the climate change story, and he came up with this camera system that he designed and built that could withstand negative 40-degree temperatures and 200-mile-an-hour winds. Through a friend of mine, I got connected to James, and he took me on the very first trip. I went with him to Iceland in March of 2007, and I froze my butt off in some of the coldest conditions I've ever been in. I just started following him around, helping him install the cameras, but mostly just documenting everything. We didn't know what we were going to do with the video footage. We had no real purpose or intention at the start, but we just knew that we needed to capture his story and preserve it just in case something happened with it. After a year of following him around, we had all this footage, and we had his time lapses that were starting to be developed. and we knew that we had a story there. We spent weeks camping out on the Greenland ice sheet. Literally, you have to take like 4 different plane flights to a helicopter to get dropped off in the middle of the ice sheet, and you're there alone with no safety net for weeks on end. And that's where James went to cover his story, and that's where we went to follow him. He was once a skeptic about climate change. He didn't think that it was real for a bunch of reasons. But after he saw what was going on with the ice, he set out to do the Extreme Ice Survey, and now he has the most visual evidence of climate change that's ever been made. He'll push himself to literally the edge of a Moulin where there's thousands of gallons of water rushing into a hole, and he'll take a photograph at the edge of the safety line that as far as he can possibly go. This is visual evidence. This is what's going on that you can't deny. Once you see his images, that is the record of what's happening on this planet.
Lip sync ships.
Yeah.
So that's Jeff Orlowski, and his film Chasing Ice is premiering next week at the Sundance Film. I can't believe it's next week.
I know, me too.
And I can't believe that Jeff, before becoming some highfalutin Sundance filmmaker, asked me to do the behind the scenes on my film, my pre-scripted actor film Maplethorpe.
Right.
And so I now will have a Sundance filmmaker shooting my behind the scenes.
It's pretty incredible that they put their lives basically at risk out there to shoot this.
Wait till you see. It gets worse.
Yeah, there's no security, no safety.
It's an adventure film too, for all the adventure enthusiasts. It's
reminded me a little bit of The Cove in that regard. When you see them prepping the gear.
I mean, it's crazy what they do.
It reminds me of The Cove, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And speaking of adventure, our final film that we're going to talk about today, Searching for Sugarman, sounds like. Did you write the synopsis on this one? Because
no, Trevor did.
It sounds like you. Okay.
It's funny because I wanted to, because I love this movie so much.
Talk about crazy
I was the first one
film.
to see it. It was like
You were the first one.
I had a really bad day too. I had smashed my car.
Oh no!
I went home. I had to watch movies and plugged this in, and immediately contacted the other film programmers and said, "Oh God, I needed this. This movie will lift people's spirits. I mean, audiences are going to go crazy for this movie." Rodriguez was this. I mean, this is a remarkable story. He was this dude in the 70s trying to make a career as a musician that never quite happened.
Right.
But little did he know, in South Africa, he was bigger than Elvis. So, but there were all these theories that, in South Africa that Rodriguez was dead. So I'm not going to tell you whether he's actually dead or not, because that is a plot twist in the film.
Oh, nice.
Usually it's you're big in Europe or you're big in Australia, not you're big in South Africa.
Well, he had a crooked record label who wasn't sending him the royalties. So copies of his albums got bootlegged in South Africa.
That never happened.
Isn't that amazing?
I've never heard of anything like that in the music industry. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds like the film industry.
It does sound a little bit like the film industry.
Speaking of which, let's make a phone call. No, just kidding. one of the shows, we made a call to my distributor for Dig.
Yeah, we called Marty.
From the show.
Oh,
we called Palm Pictures. Yeah. The one guy who's still there.
He hasn't called you back, has he?
Nobody was returned my call.
Okay.
So this is one of our first-time filmmakers. Also, Malik Benjalal, I guess you say his name. I'm sure I will get that pronunciation correct when
I'd really like
to Sundance.
I'd really like to know how he came up with the topic. Do you have any idea?
Is he South African?
He's Swedish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, this guy looks really cool. Looks like...
Yeah, Rodriguez is a dude, man. He is totally a dude.
Okay, trick question. Is he coming to Sundance?
I'm not answering that
question. Intrigue.
Right?
Yeah.
Nice try, Andy.
So go to Sundance to find out.
To find out, because...
his daughters are alive, I can tell you that.
Oh, wow. More intrigue.
Daughters?
Yeah.
How old was he when he went missing, David? Then he was declared dead at
You're assuming he went.
Investigative reporting.
That's a trick question too, because you're trying to get me to say he went missing.
You're so clever.
Well, maybe we should leave the intrigue.
Let's leave it. Let's leave it. Let's do that. Let's in fact, let's not even show a clip of what he looks like.
Right. Yeah. Let's let the audience find out.
Yeah, we're gonna tease you, people.
Search. You got to do your own search.
Yeah, you got to search, and actually, Sundance.org is a good place to start.
Yeah, it's true.
Plug. Okay, so sometimes, David, on this show we have something called the doc side, which is where we talk about the business side of documentary. And we also have a segment called the Daily Dig Down. And in fact, we could open the Daily Dig Down today and we'd love for your, feel free to jump in and comment all you wish. Yes. Okay. But what we tend to do is sort of go through the news. And I think the doc side kind of colludes this time with the Daily Dig Down in that the Oscars have declared that we cannot be nominated for an Oscar or be eligible for an Oscar if we're not reviewed. We, being documentarians, that special species known as documentarian, cannot be nominated without a review in either the New York Times or the LA Times starting in 2012.
Yes.
And it's funny because every year these rules change.
Right.
I remember in 2004, you had to have a 9-month holdback window. You couldn't be on TV for 9 months after you were in theaters. And now that doesn't exist, but now they're throwing in the, reviewed by the LA Times. What do you make of that, guys?
I think they're well-intentioned. I'll start off with that.
Very political, very nice comment.
Well, I think they're trying to get it right.
Well, let me give you a quote. The Academy COO, Rick Robertson, said, "It's part of an effort to shrink the number of qualifying films to genuine theatrical releases. There were over 100 entries in the category this year, and it's just too much. It's getting out of hand."
100, David.
Oh my God.
You watched how many films did you watch?
I personally watched. I'm telling you, you said I could use the word pussy. They're pussies. 100.
I said that pussy was okay on the internet.
I mean, seriously. I personally watched probably 500 documentaries alone, and all the, what's your term for them?
Pre-scripted actor films.
Pre-scripted actor
films. Thank you so much for letting me say that like 5 times in one show.
So I mean, seriously, 100 is a piece of cake.
They can't handle it at the great Academy of Motion Picture Art and Sciences.
But when I say I think it's well-intentioned is that I think that they know that there's a problem, and they're trying to fix it, and they keep changing the rules to get it right. I don't necessarily think this is the way. This is gonna put all of the power in wealthy filmmakers for one thing. They're going to have to hire publicists. They're going to have to they're going to have to
lobby.
How much money did we have to raise for our theatrical release of We Live in Public, which we did ourselves? But how much?
We raised almost $300,000.
Yeah, you need to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this.
Yeah,
because you can't have a review like that unless you have.
Well, and now the IDA had the DocuWeeks program where you could pay to have your movie qualified.
Actually, Michael Lumpkin, president of the IDA, sent out an email today saying we're going to figure this out, guys. Because now
you're lobbying the New York Times and the LA Times.
The documentary community is kind of up in arms about this, absolutely, and we don't, rightfully so.
All right. Next news.
All right, so I'm going to try and roll through these stories to close the show. Documentary blog reports. This one is near and dear to my heart. Mark Hartley, who's a director of Fantastic Fest fan favorite films, say that 5 times. Not Quite Hollywood and Machete Maidens. His next film will focus on Canon Films. It's the 80s company responsible for classic releases like American Ninja, Invasion USA Bloodsport, which brought us Van Damme, Cobra, Stallone, and Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, which buried the franchise and it hasn't recovered yet. Any interest in seeing it?
Of course.
I don't see it.
I don't care.
I'm just kidding. It might be fun.
I want to see everything.
I mean, it would be great. After one of those genocide films, it would be perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
A little something light, something fluffy, right?
Which, speaking of which, have you seen Roger Corman film? Life and Times?
Yes.
Great film.
Yeah, it is a great
Talk
film.
about a fun film to watch.
It is a fun film.
I'm being entertained right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, next story. Keanu Reeves is making a documentary entitled Side by Side, which tackles the film versus digital debate. It includes interviews with Martin Scorsese, James Cameron, George Lucas, Steven Soderbergh, Christopher Nolan, and David Fincher. And basically the documentary takes an in-depth look at the issue of film versus digital. Basically, what's a better format aesthetically?
That's so highly, filmic. It sounds like a Scorsese film, not
It's so
Keanu Reeves. It's
specific,
amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. It's crazy
So technical.
specific and technical.
It's very
yeah.
surprising from Keanu Reeves.
It is.
That he's,
Maybe he will soon become a filmmaker and get behind
apparently
the camera.
is becoming a filmmaker.
Pre-scripted.
It's going to be one of your 7,000 films this year.
It probably will.
It will be. Okay.
He needs to be screened. He's not part of the Sundance family. Just kidding.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Send him on.
Keanu Reeves. We'll see it.
All right. Business Insider reports that Newt Gingrich's super PAC, and you interviewed Newt Gingrich.
I did.
Is pushing When Mitt Romney Came to Town, a documentary that rips Mitt Romney, Bain Capital, and makes private equity look terrible. What do you think about that?
I think it's funny because when I was up at Mammoth with no snow, I was looking at the Republican coming out of Iowa caucuses. And we actually had AJ Schnack on the show, who I was thinking about because he's been making a film with all these characters? Clowns? Characters.
Characters from Branson, Missouri? Those characters?
All of them. Yeah, the gang, the whole gang.
Okay.
All the Republican.
Those characters.
All those characters, yeah. And so I was just thinking about how Newt came out of Iowa having played Mr. Nice Guy to kind of resurrect his image, apparently, because he has a lot of enemies. And now he's like, forget that approach, let's take Mitt down.
This is like,
What do you think?
I think it's like documentary as ammunition. It's interesting to me. I actually saw part of this, a short clip of this documentary this morning.
Do you think it's is it a serious film?
How was it?
Well, it was sad. I mean, sad. It was like it was meant to be sad. It was poor woman who was homeless was on the screen talking about her experience and then comparing her experience to Mitt Romney, who apparently owns 15 homes. So that's the point of it. Right. It's sort of black and white documentary to put the black hat on Mitt Romney. So it's using documentary as a tool.
Right.
But Newt, meanwhile, he lives in a trailer. Did you know that? Just kidding.
Trailer.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm just saying, Mitt has 15 homes and Newt has 13, so he's upset.
Exactly.
Right.
So do you think that disqualifies it from being a serious film because it's a perspective film meant to influence politics?
I think it'll be, serious for what it's intended.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
It sounds like John Kerry up the river or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
In related news, R.J. Cutler is going to be making a film about Dick Cheney. Cutler and his production company, Actual Reality, have placed ads in Wyoming papers looking to unearth previously unseen film footage or photographs of Cheney.
That is one thing I say about
Can't wait to
RJ,
see
our
that.
favorite,
Me too.
our second favorite redhead,
Yeah.
RJ Cutler. He always has a nose for the big story. You know what I mean? What's going to be the hot topic? I mean, everybody wants to see a film about Dick Cheney, a hilarious film about Dick Cheney.
Right.
I mean, just the duck hunt alone, I think it should be the opening scene, if he has that, knowing RJ, he's out there in the woods. Like,
he's good. Definitely.
We're going to have RJ on the show, actually.
Yeah,
RJ's definitely coming on the show, so we'll hopefully woo him into bringing some of those
He'll
clips
be out there
along.
hunting.
Yeah. And he's also done. He made September issue, so that's kind of interesting. Comparing like Anna Wintour and Dick Cheney, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
It would be interesting. Yeah, that'll be a good BYOD. Tune in.
All right, and finally, we'll close with a list of documentary films opening theatrically in January 2012. On the 4th, we had It's About You, which is a film about John Mellencamp and his tour with Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson. On the 13th, we have Man on a Mission, Richard Garriott's Road to the Stars. Richard Wolff follows obsessed entrepreneur and game developer Richard Garriott as he prepares to go into orbit on a Russian spacecraft. That might be the future. 1/18/12, we have Crazy Horse, which is a Frederick Wiseman film. He takes us inside Paris's Crazy Horse for a fly-on-the-wall look behind the scenes at the legendary nightclub that boasts the world's classiest nude dancing.
I have to stop you there. Frederick Wiseman is one of the greatest filmmakers on planet Earth.
Yeah, right.
And so for those of you who may be young filmmakers, Frederick Weissman's Titicate Follies, I believe, is being honored this year.
Legacy Award.
It's getting the Legacy Award, and well, it should. I mean, it was the most, that and Don't Look Back.
And
were the two films that blew me away when I was just a
AJ
student.
Schnack is
For
a co-chair
the
of that.
Cinema Eye Honors you're talking
It's the
about,
Cinema
right?
Eye Honors.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Cinema Eye Honors is, we talked about that with AJ.
We did, that's right.
Yeah, he founded that.
He did.
2007.
Yeah,
He did.
But Titicate Follies is about, it's as verite as it gets inside an asylum in Massachusetts, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
Unbelievable. But Frederick Weissman has got to be 80?
80, yeah.
Yeah, and
I think
he's
he's
coming out
probably
with films
older than
every
80.
year, because when I was at Toronto, 2010, he was out there with the Boxer film. And now he's at, strip clubs. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Guy
Well,
just-
that'll keep
that'll
you young.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And one interesting note is he was a lawyer who became a filmmaker.
Oh.
So
That's amazing, too.
FYI.
So he's a wise man.
Exactly. And finally, 2 more films. On the 20th, we have a Carol Channing movie, Larger Than Life. And on the 20th, we also have Pina, which is Wim Wender's wonderful 3D documentary
Nice.
about the late and great German dancer and choreographer Pina Bausch. So that's first, isn't it, a 3D documentary?
No, Werner Herzog.
Okay.
Werner Herzog,
Werner
Cave of
Herzog's
Forgotten
Cave of
Dreams.
Forgotten Dreams. We cane toads in 3D. We showed a couple years ago.
Okay.
Cane Toads.
Yeah.
So that was before Herzog, because Herzog's film premiered at 2010 Toronto.
Yeah.
Wow,
Cane toads
cane
was
toads.
only partly in 3D, but like a tongue coming out of a cane toad right at you is outrageous. It's crazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's all very, very exciting.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything else to close the show? Anything else you'd like to say, David? Things that maybe you forgot about something?
Come to Sundance if you can. If you can't,
It's an 18-hour drive if you're in LA. Just 18 hours.
on January 26th, the Sundance Film Festival USA takes 9 films to 9 different cities across the U.S. And one of them, Amy Berg, you guys interviewed Amy. Her film is going to one of
Nashville.
those.
She's very
Thank
excited
you.
about Nashville.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I was going to say Carol Channing, Larger Than Life, reminds me of a film that we probably won't be talking about very much, although we did mention it when we had Paul Brill on the show, Joan Rivers' Piece of Work. So there's Carol Channing, Larger Than Life, Joan Rivers' Piece of Work. When you get personalities like this, you have to put a colon and a little other type of thing.
Absolutely.
But Joan Rivers, I was at Sundance when I was on the jury there, and what an incredible experience to watch that film with Joan Rivers, but also to be on the Sundance jury. I've got to say, we didn't talk about that. When you win at Sundance, you realize that you must realize that the jury that is going to judge these films that we just talked about is sequestered and is absolutely sitting in 5 seats that are selected for that jury. And it's not like the Oscars where you get screeners or you go to a screening here and there. You have to, it's highly debated. These awards are very carefully given out. So let's all stay tuned to Sundance.org and find out who will win this year's Sundance Film Festival. And in fact, every film wins by being there. Yeah. We'd love to hear your feedback, everybody. So please write us on our Facebook and
tweet us at VladRad, at Andi Timoner.
Our Facebook page is BYOD. Check out Sundance.org, and thank you very much for tuning in today.
Thank you, David.
We'll see you next week here on thelip.tv.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, David. Thank you.
Thank you.